looks like. Lean in. Let's go back to the text. Look at this. Another story, another snapshot. Then Jesus went with them to the olive grove called Gethsemane. And he said, sit here while I go over there to pray. Are y'all walking with me? He took Peter and Zebedee's two sons, James and John, and became, look at this, anguished and distressed. My God, we know a little something about that. He told them, watch this. My soul is crushed. I need to pause right there. With grief to the point of death. My soul is crushed. Now, when Jesus says that my soul is crushed, now the context doesn't give it justice, so I need to go to the languages to give us a sharper understanding. Now, the illustration in the ancient world, there was an oil press. And the oil press was typically this large stones or beams that crushed olive oils to extract the oil. The goal was to put so much weight and pressure on the olives that the oil would flow into another container. Now let's go back to the text and use this overlay. He's saying that my soul, that the weight and the pressure from what I'm carrying in the world is crushing to the point. So he says, could y'all just hang out with me and watch while I pray? Could you just watch my back? Everything in me is being crushed. Everything in me is being poured out. Everything in me is leaving me. So I just need somebody to lean on during this time. So he says, stay here. Watch with me. Look at the text. He went on a little further. He thought they had his back. And he bowed with his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done and not mine. Look at this, you all. He just poured his soul out and had just been crushed beyond his imagination. Then he returned to the disciples and found them asleep. I thought y'all had my back. He said to Peter, couldn't you watch with me even for just 1 hour? My God. He says, keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Not only was Jesus betrayed for you, I'd like to conclude with sharing Jesus was abandoned for you. Scripture says that while he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, praying, spirit crushed, the text says that he began to sweat blood. That's called hemotidrosis. Hemotidrosis. When the capillaries begin to break down because of psychological stress, psychological pressure, that the glands that God made to secrete sweat to cool the body off, because the capillaries have broken down, the blood needs somewhere to travel. So the only place the blood can travel is out of sweat glands. Could you imagine the type of psychological distress to cause your capillaries to break down? So hemotidrosis sets in and you begin to sweat blood. He was abandoned for you, taken over by intense emotion. Because he says, if it is possible, let this cup pass. But nevertheless, that conjunctive adverb changes everything. But nevertheless, let your will be done. Before the crack of a whip, his body was already in psychological stress, which made the skin more clammy and more vulnerable. So when the whip went across his back, it was already primed because of the psychological stress of being abandoned. Jesus knows what it's like to be betrayed. Did it for you. Jesus knows what it's like to be abandoned. He did it for you.